punch him in the throat. Choose violence.
Hi, and welcome to another episode of Dungeons and Degrees. My name's Adrian,
And I'm Alex.
and today we have a special guest. Special guest, introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Jasmine. I am the creator of the Hamund's Harvesting Handbook series, as well as the naval-based book Captains and Cannons.
And, the reason why I brought you on was because I just looked at Hamund's Harvest Handbook and I just remembered my own past of my friend. And, I don't think it was his intention to have a harvesting kind of campaign, but we were just like, ooh, I want to make this with this, or this, I think it was like raptor teeth, or like a bear's pelt, and we kept to it, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, now I have a direction for what I want this campaign to be because of his players kind of wants and needs. And so when I kind of looked through your content and I saw the harvesting, I'm like, that's interesting. Picked it up, and I was just like, oh my god, this is everything we needed to figure out what we wanted to do and probably help out my DM. But it's 150 pages. It's so much content. It's amazing. But yeah, how long did it take you to create that?
It's a little hard to say because I stopped and started quite a lot, but I think that I started around November 2018. I was just the idea came to me and I just started working on a few monsters. And then, geez, when did I publish it? I think it was somewhere in 2019. I think it was May 2019. So yeah, it took me quite a few months, around 6 months to really get through it. And towards the end, it was a real big slug. I was working on it every day for 2 to 3 hours, after work. And yeah, it took a lot of effort. I didn't think that people would love it so much, but I'm really glad that people are using it in their games.
That's awesome. What kind of started you on this creation for other people? What got you into the DM's Guild and kind of started hey, I think this information would be helpful for other people kind of thing?
Well, I'm really big into homebrew. Even before all the DM's Guild stuff, I was really into creating my own monsters and items. And that actually grew up because when I first started playing D&D with my friends, we were all too poor to buy monster manuals and DM's guides.
Yeah.
So we actually had to make up all of our own monsters and items ourselves. And so as that went on, I just gained a knack for creating my own rules, and that turned into Captains and Cannons when I started a naval campaign. Captains and Cannons is the ship-based guidebook for D&D. And then I started Hammond's Harvesting Handbook when my players, like many players I think, insisted on harvesting every single creature that I threw at them and trying to sell it on the market. And I realized I can't keep improvising all this. I'm just going to write stuff down from now on. And it turned into Hammond's Harvesting Handbook.
Awesome. How long are these games that you played? Are these people that you've kind of had a long campaign with these individuals, or has it been different kind of campaigns and they the same thing kind of come up with I have to homebrew all this and I have to homebrew all this for these three different campaigns?
Yeah, I've been playing D&D since 2012. I actually started in 4th edition, and that's where we started creating our own monsters. And then we switched over to 5e, and I think since then I've had 4 or 5 campaigns that I've DM'd myself with them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, in pretty much every single one, they insist on carving up a monster and trying to see what they can make out of it. And it was just too hard to keep track of everything.
Yeah, it's a lot of stress on the DM because it's not given to you this other information that when you tell them oh, that you can do anything in this world, what if I harvest this thing? I'm the book didn't prepare me for this.
Yeah, exactly. And I think because video games, it's so ubiquitous now, right? Because you always loot a monster and there's always teeth or fur or something inside there, and you sell that. They're so used to doing that from a video game.
Yeah.
And when they get to D&D, the game that is supposed to be really, really free, suddenly it's locked out, and a lot of players feel a little turned off by that.
I am absolutely the type of character to immediately loot the body and figure out what I can have and what I can take and what I could maybe repurpose. So I guess I'm a DIY player that I will absolutely challenge you. So
Yeah.
on behalf
And it
of my DMs.
Yeah, and it feels exciting to take something from a monster and wear it afterwards, right? Because it's a remembrance of what you did before. like I actually remember the first time my players did try to harvest something. It was a young blue dragon, and a player like tore off a scale and used it as a shoulder plate for the rest of the campaign, and they were always really proud of that. Like when they had character art made, they insisted on like that was the key feature to include.
I think it's like kind of important to like if scars or injuries, we have magical healing in this world, so it's tough for that to like stick in somebody's brain like, oh yeah, that's a feature of them. But when you like defeat something, that trophy is something that you can like put on your person, and like it may not have too much of effect without like any prior knowledge or kind of like ability to on the spot homebrew it. Yeah, you have these skills, whatever. But to that player, it is, like you said, very important to them, which is
Yeah,
so
exactly.
fun.
Yeah,
um,
and
Go
like
ahead.
when it comes to like I'm also like a massive fan of world building, and I always thought it's kind of a shame that very few items or really anything in the DM's guide like mentions how the monsters actually play into how society is built, because obviously if there's like all these monsters running around with like really hard hides or really sharp teeth or just like these magical abilities, you would think that society would hunt them and use them for building whatever.
Right. That's interesting.
What's your favorite part of homebrewing world building?
I'm really one of those people that like tries to like make sense of the world. So it's like, okay, so you live in a world where there are giant purple worms that have massive acid vial ducts inside. How would a society that lives underground with these giant purple worms arise, and how would they use that? And yeah, that's pretty much entirely the basis of how I make the loot tables. Like, okay, so if a purple worm existed, what would society make of them? Well, they probably try and use the acid for stuff. They'd probably try to build like houses out of the scales of the purple worm. They'd probably try and turn the teeth into weapons, and there we go.
Now, when you kind of like think of these societies, are they like all regionally based, and then they're, I guess, like, oh, so all these purple scaled monsters, all their housing is all kind of like purple because that's the shade of what they have, and what's it called, what would it look like when others trade? Is that how far you would go with that stuff? Like, oh well, these
Yeah, it is. It
awesome.
is like my players know that my DM notes are really pretty extensive actually, because I actually just do this for fun. So I do that at my own campaign, but when it came to Hammond's Harvesting Handbook, I did have to keep it pretty agnostic for each campaign, because obviously I don't want to overprescribe too much of this is how your campaign and world building should work. Like if they have a low magic campaign,
Yeah.
or a more comical campaign, then I don't want my items to not fit their world.
Yeah.
So I had to keep things relatively isolated and just self-contained within their own entry.
Okay, real quick. You said note taking. What kind of like note taking device do you use in your campaign?
So when I started off, I just had a giant Microsoft Word document, and my players will tell you that I got lost very often, like when I had to re-refer to anything. I've actually switched over to using two things. I have a Trello and I have a OneNote. So that's Microsoft OneNote. That's for my own personal DM notes. It's really great because I can like section everything out. I can just chuck up quick notes and like pictures everywhere, and it's really convenient. And it's also saved to the cloud, so I can access it anywhere.
Nice.
The Trello, I don't know if either of you use Trello. It's like a project management thing, but you can use it for free, and it has like these cards you can assign to things. So, I'm also a writer, so using key cards to like move around scenes and move around like information is really convenient, and that's sort of what I use like to convey information to my players publicly. So like if I introduce a new item, I'll make a Trello card for that and then put it up there, and they can access that. And I also make one for like each NPC that they meet and each location, so that they can keep track of like the entire world really conveniently.
That's
So it's like an online note card situation.
Yeah, a bit.
That sounds really interesting. I need to look that up. I personally am really bad at note taking as a DM. Usually I have most of it stuck in my head somewhere and I can get it out, but some things like playing I played at 1.3 Curse of Strahd games in and simultaneously, and I'm like, "Didn't y'all kill that guy?" He's like, "No, I don't even know what guy you're referring to." And I'm like, "Oh, what? That's spoily. My bad." So I think
Yeah.
it's really important
Yeah,
to get
I
notes.
rely on my players to take a lot of those in-game notes for me.
Yeah.
Like, my girlfriend plays in my campaign, and yeah, I have quite often asked her, "Hey, have I told you this piece of information yet?" And she'll be like, "Yeah, yeah, don't worry, babe, you told me that." Okay, great. Just checking that I actually did reveal this plot point.
It is very difficult when doing those things because like the world is like living on your notes and in your head, and when you write it down, it's like kind of telling something or someone it, and you're like, wait, did I just write that down or did I tell you? Kind of thing. I'm glad you have someone to kind of like rely on. It's just like to like, hey, can you please help me out? This is a lot of I don't remember this part.
Yeah, my
Amazing.
players have like they're all very into note taking and like really getting into the world. Like it's kind of funny. Like right now, 3 players in my campaign independently made scholar type characters.
Hmm.
So like they're all very into researching the entire world building and writing down every single piece of information that they can. And they actually all swap notes on a regular basis to make sure that they're all up onto the same page for the campaign. And it's both heartening that, they're so engrossed in the world that they want to take all these notes. And also it's very intimidating because I know if I screw up, they're going to notice.
On July 22nd, you said this, but 3 months before that, you said this. Which one was right?
Yeah, precisely. Like, and I actually had to incorporate that once into the campaign because it's sort of like those anime retcons where they're like, oh, you thought this? Well, here's a flashback that reveals that all of that was wrong.
I just remembered I did something like that where I thought I had already explained away something. Or like I brought this character and he's like in and out very in often, so I forgot what information he held. So when he said something he wasn't supposed to know, or incorrectly, and they're like, no, that's not right. And I'm like, okay, fudge. So on the spot, I'm like, you guys, because everyone was like, he's a bad guy, we're gonna get him. Something in his, like, someone was using, like, I think, detect magic, and he had some sort of, like, memory altering spells. So I'm like, that'll look good later. And I'm like, oh, he's like, I don't understand why I said that. I'm like, oh, that was close. Just make sure that their immersion was still intact.
Yeah, it's always so intimidating as a DM, especially when you have to like improvise so much on a regular basis. And while also trying to keep that coherent story going, right?
Right, exactly. It's so interesting. Oh, okay. This is what I was gonna ask afterwards. So, like, you have players that are super interested in it. It must feel like really like satisfying. Like all these things are being revealed. Like, oh, they want to know the things that I've been doing in this campaign. And I have some players like I think I've never had anyone that was that in depth into the world building, and they're just like, yeah, let's just go kill the monsters and all that stuff. So I think that's super gratifying.
Yeah, no, I'm very lucky to have a group of players that align really well on my DMing style, which is, very heavy into the reveals and the plot and, all these intrigue and big mysteries. And honestly, like, I live for those moments when I just, like, drop a piece of information that just changes everything and just watching all of their faces, like, light up, like, with the possibilities. Like, what does this mean? How does this change everything that I thought of before?
That's amazing. Can you share like one of your favorite like info drop that just like changed
Oh
the
my God.
your the
Yes.
world?
Okay. So my favorite was so in this campaign, we call it the Drifters campaign. There was a character that they had been hunting for a while, whose name was Siegfried, and without boring you all with like the entire backstory of the campaign, basically Siegfried, they thought that he had betrayed this veteran group that they all looked up to, and they were trying to hunt him down to get revenge. Um, but then they entered like some vault that contained like hidden secrets of the universe, and they opened up one of the secrets regarding like the incident in which Siegfried supposedly betrayed that group. And in there, they discovered that no, he had actually saved his entire group, but an eldritch god had sort of played with all of their memories to make it look like he had betrayed them. And this entire time, he had not been, trying to hunt down his old friends. but in fact he had been protecting them from the eldritch god that kept on trying to target them afterwards. And when they found out, like, they were all just like flipping through notes and going, "Oh my god, she's been setting this up this whole time. This explains this anomaly. This explains this anomaly. Oh my god, that's why this person like never got found out, despite how obvious it would have been for them to be found out, because he was protecting them this whole time." And like one of them actually just started crying because she was like, "We've been hunting him this whole time, and he's such a good guy."
That is flippin' beautiful. Gosh.
It was even better because I was playing like music in the background at the time, and it just so happened that the reveal like synced up to like a really good moment in the music, and they were like, "Did you plan that?" I was like, "Yes."
That's amazing. Oh, I love that so much. There's very few moments where just like I like drop some insidious information on them, and then like this low note in the music where it just goes silent, and the whole room in the chat is just
Oh my
silent.
god, I love that. Or like when you have ambient music playing
Mhm.
and you say something, and then there's like thunder in the background.
Yes.
That happened once in real life. Like it was actually raining that day, and I like made a monster appear, and then thunder happened in the background, and they're like, "Jesus, Jazz, your DMing's getting really good."
That's awesome. Can't wait to DM back in person. Oh.
Yeah, we just went on a 2-week lockdown here in Sydney, and it ends just before the day when I scheduled the D&D game, so I'm really hoping it's not extended.
Oh, I hope so as well, because there's like, the difference between like DMing in person and DM online. Like for the most part, I like some of the features or the control I have online versus what I didn't have back there, where I could hide my face if like I don't know what's going on. Hold up, let me just refigure everything. And then, or just them just like laughing or seeing my expressions while I'm like DMing, and my full like body just like flow of just like me acting like a madman for the villain.
Yeah,
Soon.
it doesn't feel the same online for me, especially because Australian internet is kind of poopy.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, a lot of people like disconnect quite often, and it just really throws off the flow.
Yeah, that's very unfortunate.
Ah, so you're familiar with Sudden Link. I see.
This is really bad internet connection in Lubbock, Texas.
No, in just Texas, because I have Sudden Link in Dallas.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought it was just
Mm-hmm.
exclusively there.
Do I have Sudden Link? No, I lied. I don't have Sudden Link. I have Spectrum. Same thing.
And then they take over. Sorry, Texas lore. My apologies.
No, tell me more about this world building of yours. What is this Texas you speak of?
Oh man.
So apparently we're all this big country, except we have our own grid, and that's freaking crazy because it shuts down every now and then.
Oh yeah, we heard about like that was like really big news everywhere else as well.
I didn't know.
Yeah, I heard about that Texas grid thing.
It,
It's really awful to hear about.
yeah. Any
Yeah. So
questions?
you're enjoying your winter time, right? Is that correct? Is that how the
Down
tilt of
here,
the earth works?
I wouldn't say enjoying. It's been difficult to get out of bed in the morning.
I hear that. Is it just like super cozy, or is it just like it just even more effort to just get out kind of thing?
Yeah, it's just I don't want to get out of this warm, life-saving bed and go to work where it's cold.
Gotcha.
Just normal winter things. Good.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, let's circle back to the beginning. No, so what got you into D&D, or at least tabletops in general?
Yeah, so my friend actually started DMing back in like 2011, and like I just happened to be going home with him and one of his players at the time. They were both friends of mine, but they had their own game, and they were just like talking about D&D, and I was like, "Wait, are you guys actually playing Dungeons and Dragons?" And they're like, "Yeah, we started, and it's actually pretty fun." I'm like, "Okay, do you want to join?" "Sure, I'll see what that's all about." And I thought that I would enjoy it. In fact, I almost like flaked out on my first session because I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to go to this Dungeons and Dragons." And then I went, and it was so much fun. Like I was like laughing like nonstop. I had no idea how to play, but it was so amazing, and the story was so great, and I just had a really good time just being around friends while also playing this really weird game. And it just kept on growing, and eventually like my friend asked me, the one who was DMing, asked me, "Hey, do you want to like co-DM this campaign as well? Like, do you want to do a few guest sessions?" And I said yes. So I did that, and then eventually I just started DMing full time for the group, and now I'm the forever DM. And then that just kept on growing because I kept, as I said, I kept homebrewing stuff for my campaigns and making more and more stuff, and here I am today.
Making
Were you a writer before you started D&D, or was that because of D&D?
I was a writer before D&D, so I had written like a few scripts. It was sort of like something I did in the background. I had like a main job as, well, boring business office stuff, and then I started to get more into writing. I did start to like get more into writing because of D&D. Like it sort of reignited that spark. But yeah, I'd always been a writer, but mostly like smaller projects. And yeah, now actually my main job is a writer for an indie animation studio.
nice. Wow. Sorry. I lost my train of thought. It got crashed.
I was gonna say it sounded like you got distracted.
Yeah.
Jazz, we're a hot mess express. I'm sorry that you're a part of this.
No worries, I assume it's because you play D&D. And pretty much everyone I've met who plays D&D also is a little bit of a hot mess.
Well, okay. She knows
You know
our
what?
MO.
You're not wrong.
Who was your first character in D&D? What did you play first as?
My first character was a half-elf named Crumb. He was named Crumb because I literally had to come up with a name like on the spot because I realized I had not named my character when I first turned up to that first session that I was trying to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
And I named him Crumb because at the time I was playing Fire Emblem Awakening, and that's the main character.
Yeah.
And I literally had nothing else. He was a half-elf warlord, which is a class that I really wished existed in 5e, but only exists in 4e these days.
Yeah.
He was awesome. He was loud and brash. Pretty much my conception of him was meant to be Wesley from Princess Bride. Like, so, he did this big thing to try and, like, get the attention of his kidnapped wife. Pretty basic, like, fantasy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Because, as I said, I was not big into D&D at the time, and I just made this off the top of my head.
No, that's
But
awesome.
yeah, he eventually became like the king of Neverwinter and became the big hero and then sacrificed himself at the end of the campaign. And we all always have like this really fun memories of him because he was like fully into charisma and persuading like just everyone around him to be his friend.
Just like Wesley.
Yeah, essentially exactly like Wesley.
Yeah.
Like he was just very charismatic and everyone like joined his side instead of fighting. Like he was just an anime character. Like, okay, I defeated you in battle. Come join my team.
Yes, exactly. It's amazing. So now I'm thinking of Wesley as an anime character and the whole series as an anime.
Oh my god, The Princess Bride would be such a good anime.
That rock climbing
that would
scene
work.
would be like 3 episodes long.
That would work so well.
Yeah.
Can you imagine like all the cut-ins and close-ups when Wesley's like on that bed talking to Humperdinck?
Be so good.
Oh man! Oh, no. So great.
Do you think?
And then the
do
end
you
scene
think
where
that I'm
she's jumping out of the
paralyzed?
window, like dramatically.
Just all the nani.
Oh, that scene where he's like, shouldn't, when he's like, and you thought that I was going to put the poison into this cup, but you would know that I would know that. Just that scene would be forever.
Yeah, just all those close-ups of them like gripping the table
Yeah,
and like sweat coming down and just that Nanda.
the frame's getting closer and closer until it's just eyes and lips at that point.
It writes itself.
It pretty much does.
It really does.
Someone's gonna make it. But yeah, Jasmine, do you feel like with you kind of DMing, has it influenced your writing at all, or better understand like a different perspective because you have to interact with players on a day-to-day, or not day-to-day, but a session-to-session basis?
Oh, most definitely. Like, it's definitely affected both my D&D writing and like my professional writing, because it's really made me think more about like, okay, how would these characters interact with the world that I have? Because when you are a writer, you can get a bit too into your head as like, I'm the omniscient god of this world. These characters will do exactly what I tell them to do. But when you have players, they are little individuals with minds and agency of their own, and they can react in entirely different ways that you weren't expecting to situations. So when I do write professionally, I always think, maybe this character would actually go in the opposite direction to what I was thinking. And maybe I should like explore this different avenue of how they would tackle this problem instead of the way I would think that they would tackle this problem. Maybe there is a different outcome and I should explore that. So it's actually been really great. And of course, it does apply the other way because as a professional writer, I can make a lot of NPCs very quickly and I can pump out like story after story and my players never get bored of that.
Nice. Yeah, of course. Have you ever had to have a discussion with one of your players about like a decision that was made during the game, or like did you decide talk to them beforehand or after that?
Not really. Okay, so yeah, so I say not really with a really big asterisk attached to it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've never had to like bring a player up on a decision that I made because my players are quite open
Are
with me.
amazing.
Like, yeah, my players are amazing, and I like to think that I DM quite well for them. It hasn't happened in any recent campaigns because I do have like content warnings or trigger warnings and stuff at the start of campaigns. Like, okay, if you don't want me to touch any of this content, then we won't touch it. So I never really have to like talk to them about any content or inappropriate behavior.
Mm-hmm.
However, at the very start of my DMing experience, I didn't do this because, yeah, inexperience.
Learning.
And
Yeah.
I'd actually, I was DMing for someone who I didn't really know that well. We've been friends for a little bit, but we'd never like seriously talked.
Yeah.
And in the campaign, I had actually like killed his dad. As you do as a DM.
Yeah.
And
Right.
I didn't actually know at the time that his dad had died fairly recently. And I only actually found out about that like a few years later, and I realized, oh my god, I was such an asshole for doing that. I really should have like checked beforehand. This is why content warnings exist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did talk to him like just casually brought it up a little while ago, and he said, no, it's fine. Like he understands. But yeah, like it's one of those times when I really wish I could like wind back the clock,
Yeah. It's information that was found out after the fact, so it's hard to understand that that was what you're supposed to do as a DM. Like I have never done content warnings until I want to say like a couple months ago when I got into a bit of a situation where like I felt icky DMing what the module said. I'm like, I'm gonna change this on the spot. Like I had to stop the whole campaign. I'm like, hey guys, I don't feel comfortable with this scene. Can we change it? Can we go back? And everyone was like, yes, in agreement. So we collectively kind of made sure that everyone else had any issues. So like as a new DM, you're also busy trying to like, oh, what's the rules? What am I making? What do I do? It's hard to like, oh, also, how are my players doing? How are these feelings gonna get affected and all that stuff? So, it's tough.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a learning
And
thing.
that is actually why I do encourage a bit of player agency with my group because yeah, I mean like for starters, like all their note taking, fantastic. But I do also like encourage them to try and speak up and talk to me about things. And that actually has happened. Like in the session 0 of our campaign, one of my players discussed with me how they felt kind of uncomfortable that another player chose a French accent for their character because their character was also like this researcher who was trying to uncover stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And she told me that because she's Vietnamese and she has this history of French people, coming into the country and being very rude and invasive with privacy concerns, she told me that she was feeling a little uncomfortable that the other player, was essentially playing a fantasy version of that.
Yeah.
And everyone did handle it in a very mature way. There's like, oh, I didn't realize that was an issue. I didn't know that that is actually a sensitivity topic for Vietnamese people. And yeah, we just changed the accent. We changed a little bit of the backstory, and yeah, there's no problem now.
And it's good that players are starting to speak up because like I don't no new players have that much like, oh, am I supposed to speak up? I feel uncomfortable. Am I supposed to do this? Like, for newer individuals,
Yeah,
it's like a new a thing to learn as you get more comfortable with the people around you. Like, for the most part, the people that I play with are all people around the world on the internet. So I don't know them personally, but they slowly started to speak up about some things and decisions like, hey, I want to do this, I want to do that. And even, not even talking about like content sensitivity, but like anything they wanted, like, oh, I have an opinion in this. I'm like, yeah, this is your story. So like, even to go even further to the content sensitivity, I think it's a big leap for someone to like, hey, I'm uncomfortable, because they're afraid. Some people can be afraid of like rejection of like, oh well, whatever kind of thing. It's a touchy subject, and nobody wants to be, blamed for like, oh, why should you feel that way? So yeah, that was good on your player, and it's good on players in the future, kind of trying to speak out to whoever else is listening. That if you are an individual that has like are in a game and you don't feel comfortable, you need to speak up, because this is not like, this is a game. You should be having fun, and you shouldn't be like toting around your comfort levels.
yeah, that is exactly what I always tell my players. And it does require a bit of like leading from the DM, because you just naturally have this position of authority whether you want it or not.
Hmm.
But yeah, I do try to encourage my players to speak up, be vocal, and have agency in the world.
Right, exactly. It's beautiful. Oof, sorry, that felt heavy. It felt heavy
It
because
does get heavy
it
because,
happened
like,
recently.
yeah, you did. You have that trauma right now. You're holding that.
It happened, and I had to deal with it. It's all good. I had someone kind of trigger some of our other players, and I had to like talk to them, and I eventually had to say, look, I need you to be okay. I need you to kind of focus on yourself right now. You can't play this game and drop these things so nonchalantly. He's like, I didn't mean to. I'm like, yeah, I know, but like, people in our game take days off because they're sick, they're hurting, or they're just not mentally well, and they just need a break for themselves. This person kind of continuously just didn't let us know, wasn't informing us, and I kind of like led them like, hey, we need to talk about this. And he's like, but I need this. I'm like, well, you're making a lot of people feel like this game to be more of like therapy for you and not a game for them. So we need to switch something. And eventually he wasn't listening, and I just like, we can't play this together, unfortunately. We can talk about what's going on, but we can't play this game together, because it's just, I don't know. It was hard for him to differentiate the game and his life, kind of thing, sometimes. And I'm like, I want to help you, but he wouldn't listen to the help I was trying to advise, unfortunately. So I had to cut ties with the player for the first time. And it felt weird.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I'm very lucky that I never had to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's why like that topic's, it's very important now that I kind of like get it out there early. Like, it's okay to take days off. I mean, the game will still go, or the game will stop. It just depends, but it's still just this fun thing we do. So don't take it away and make it like, oh, I have to do it or else my party's like let down. Like, no, 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 no. Take care of yourself first. It's very important for you to take care of yourself first.
Well, that was a big life lesson I think I had to get through in my 20s, of like that fear of missing out.
The
But,
FOMO.
if you're supposed to be there, you'll be there, and those who love you will love you, and everything will be okay.
Yeah.
That is very simplifying the whole problem. But, if you feel like you're missing out, don't, because then you're just stressed about missing out, and then you're missing out because you're stressed, and then, going around that way.
All right. So,
Jazz, what's your favorite? I don't know. I just started calling you Jazz, first of all. I didn't even ask. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine. It's probably because I actually refer to myself as Jazz when I'm telling a story. So yeah, it's fine. Most of my friends call me Jazz.
I teach elementary school, and I give all my kids nicknames. Like, they didn't even ask. They just, nobody's full name is said in my room.
That's kind of cute, to be honest.
I'm that teacher. Everyone has a nickname. It has a nickname. No, but Jazz, what's your favorite Class.
Bard. Definitely. Like there's no hesitation on that. It's Bard. I really love roleplay, so I always naturally just go with the high charisma characters. And I just like I really just like alternative to violent methods of resolving fights because ironically I don't actually enjoy combat that much. Like I put in my games and you know it's still fun, but it's probably my least favorite aspect of D&D. So when I play a bard, I always try to do like the non-violent approach to solving any situation. So you know, talking to the people, you know, trying to tame the monster, whatever. So bards.
Awesome. Okay, well, in saying that you don't, you have combat, but isn't the favorite part. Is there like in your game, do you have this like non-violent method on most things, but just kind of doesn't happen sometimes?
Yeah, for a lot of them actually. There I always keep to like this rule of, you know, you can resolve pretty much anything non-violently, assuming that it's not like, you know, a purple worm trying to eat you whole, because pretty much the only non-violent way of solving that is just run away. But yeah, and my players actually do take advantage of that quite a lot. And okay, I'm just gonna say like straight up, I have definitely noticed that when the table starts to skew towards females in the group compared to males, it does tend to resolve itself non-violently more often.
I think we have a
Um,
past guest who's also said that same thing. So I think, slowly accumulating this information that it's true.
yeah, like I used to DM for a group of it was like 4 guys, 1 girl. This was also like pre-transition for me,
Mhm.
so yeah, everything just violence and combat everywhere. And then nowadays, actually, my table is 4 women and 4 men, with you know me as a trans woman now, an open trans woman as the DM. So, and yeah, a lot of combat now gets resolved pretty non-violently. And I will also say that with another big caveat, my most violent player is a woman. So she is like the most stab happy rogue who ever lived.
Oh, a
And
rogue.
yeah, so she is the most violent. So I'm just gonna say, like, although yes, the gender skew has probably caused a shift in how they resolve things, there's also the extreme in one of my female players.
Gotcha. That's funny. I was thinking like, oh, obviously a bard or a barbarian or a fighter, but rogue, most violent. That's awesome.
Yeah, no, we all joke that she never once took disengage as her option. She would always just like she was like, I can use the bonus action to either disengage or attack again. I'm gonna attack again. You're
Awesome.
like, okay, well, if that's how you want to play rogue, go right ahead. And it's kind of funny because like one time her boyfriend like guessed it as her character because like she had to miss it, so she like let her boyfriend play it.
Hmm.
And her boyfriend's like a really veteran DM, so he really knows how to play. And he was like just darting in and out, disengages, like striking and going back into the shadows. And I was like, damn, she is so much more effective right now.
That's what happens when you have a vet DM. They know how to maximize efficiency.
Yeah, exactly.
Did you ever say like, well, that's definitely not how she plays it, but that's okay.
Yeah, we all said that. We're like in character, they were being all meta and being like, "Damn, you suddenly are really competent. I wonder what's changed." Also, your voice sounds different.
uh, we we have a barbarian that doesn't rage immediately off the bat of combat. Just like, if I only after I get hit a certain amount of times will I start to rage. So we like have this when we have to play her character. We're just like, oh, she just took like 5 damage. Definitely not gonna rage. 20 damage? Maybe. So we just mess with that
Oh
idea.
my god, that's so cute.
Yeah.
I wanted to actually create a character like that. Obviously, as a forever DM, I've never had the opportunity to do it, but
Yeah.
I wanted to create a barbarian that wanted to be a redemption paladin.
Yeah.
So like they were always like trying to hold themselves back so that they could prove that they could be a redemption paladin, but it would never work and they would like end up in a rage. And like, you know, the end goal of their arc would that they would finally be able to take a level in Paladin and start to be that redemption Paladin they always wanted to be.
That's amazing. I love that idea. The like the what's it called? They're this class, but they've always wanted to be another class.
Yeah, like the character just has like a rage issue that they're trying to work out. Eventually, they're gonna get there.
I think I've done similar thing about like a barbarian that's supposed to be something else. He was like a bookworm, so he had high intelligence, but he was too poor to go into universities, and he had the money, but they kind of like blackballed him and just kind of like shunned him from getting any information. So one day he just raged out and beat up some other intellectuals, and then he was just like this very pompous like barbarian who could read and write and all this stuff that doesn't usually associate themselves with barbarian, but he's just like he wants the intelligence, but he has a rage problem.
That is such a cool concept.
Yes, I think he was like my I had only 2 players and they needed some assistance, so I made 2 other characters just in case they needed some help. So I made that, and then I forget what the other one was. It was some druid. I'm not really good at druids, so I don't think I did a cool backstory with the druid. But yeah, I like the what's it called, I guess, juxtaposition of like what you think is supposed to be happening, or like what the character, the rogue, the warlock, versus what's actually going on in their backstory and the reasons for that, like their spells or anything. So I think that's really cool, and I haven't been able to do it as much, but I'm super excited too with a new campaign coming up soon. Do you?
Yeah, God, I wish I had more. Like, although I love DMing, I do wish I had more opportunities to play all the characters in my backlog.
How many do you have?
You
Is it
can
like...
come play with us.
Oh yeah, sure.
I wish I had the time for that as well. Like, I'm already overloaded with writing my DM's books and all my other projects while also trying to keep this one campaign afloat.
Yeah, I get
Yeah,
that.
I just wish I had more time. But yeah, I mean, I have a few that I'll never really get to play, which really sucks.
It's all good. I completely understand.
My only hope is to put them in as NPCs into my campaigns and just let them live a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what happens when you're forever DMs. You make some cool things, and you just hope your PCs don't one-shot them, and you're like, it was so cool. All right. Any other questions, Alex?
No, and the space that I'm in has a crying baby and a lot of people who are very excited playing board games.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. I'm invading their space, so
All right.
it's only fair.
All right. Well, I have no more questions. Do you have any questions for us, Jasmine?
No, not really. I mean, I've really enjoyed talking to you guys.
Yeah, we enjoyed talking to you. And thank you for sharing that you're openly trans, because that's really exciting that I lost it. I'm really excited overall. I don't remember what I was trying to say.
All right. Well, yeah. Thank you for sharing, everything with us in it. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no worries. Like, yeah, just being on the topic of like trans and stuff. Yeah, I am hoping that there is a bit more representation in the field and in the hobby. Especially, I don't know if any of you have heard the recent like discourse around Gary Gygax Jr. and TSR, but regardless of that, yeah, I'm hoping that there is more diversity in our hobby because it really needs it.
Oh, for sure. You go onto
Yep.
like Twitch and you see a bunch of white men just playing D&D, and you're like, well, there's more than that out there. So hopefully I can get enough diversity in my podcast, at least 51%. Not podcast, but my next stream. Because I diversity is important, and it needs to be shown that like this hobby is for everyone, and I want to show that to people.
Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Dear listener, this hobby is for everyone. Do not let anyone tell you it's not for you. Punch him in the throat. Choose violence.
See, this is the violent one in the campaign.
Yeah, I'm starting to tell that.
You know what? Sometimes I'm very peaceful in person. So, like, if I've got to get it out in my rage and my fictitious role-playing game,
Yeah.
I will pull it on my fictitious role-playing game.
All right. Do you have anything to plug, Jasmine, before we wrap this up?
Yeah, just look me up in the DMs Guild, Captains and Cannons, and the Hamund's Harvesting Handbook series. I'm currently working on my next project, which is Hamund's Herbalism Handbook. And as you can tell by the title, it is all about plants. So you can add some plants to your campaign. If you have like players who like walk around and look for mushrooms and roots and flowers a lot, you can finally make them useful.
You don't have to like.
I don't know when it's coming out.
No worries, but it's out. It's gonna be out there. Okay. So look up.
Eventually, yes.
Yeah. So look up Jasmine's work. What is there like a username or anything to look them up? Look yourself up.
Yes, I should probably plug that. You can find it if you look up either my name, Jasmine Yang, or you can find it if you look up my DM's Guild title, which is Drifter's Game Workshop.
And there you had it, folks. Alex?
Thank you, dear listener, for joining us for another episode. You can find us where podcasts or pods are cast. Please rate us 5 stars on Apple Podcast. Only 5 stars. Never rate anybody less than 5 stars. Otherwise, you're just being a general dick. Share with your friends and family. Get the word out with our podcast. You can also join us on Patreon if you are so financially inclined. Your help will help us grow and find new people to talk to and new ways to grow and new ways to get our information out in the universe and make space for all people for Dungeons and Dragons. You do not have to subscribe to our Patreon in order to now get on our Discord. So please join us on our Discord. You can also find us on the internet if you just Google D & Degrees. But you can also find us at Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.
I'm trying to keep up with the times. Well, yeah. Thank you so much.
The old people.
Yeah, I just can't post as much as I could back in the day.
Content is so hard.
All right, well, thank you all so much for listening. My name's Adrian.
And I'm Alex.
Go have some fun.